We weren't even sure he was going to make it through the night. He was barely responsive, lying sadly on the floor of that little pet carrier that he was in. But if there's a chance, no matter how small that chance may be, to recover that injured individual and get it back out into the wild, we'll take it. And we will give that bird whatever it needs for as long as it needs, with that goal of recovering it and giving it a second chance at freedom. And as you can see, with care, with time, with patience, this owl did recover, but unfortunately not well enough to go back out into the wilds. When he was hit by that car, he suffered a lot of head trauma that left him with a lot of, unfortunately, brain damage. And that means he doesn't really see the world in the way that an owl needs to. He doesn't react to things in the way that an owl needs to. He doesn't remember how to hunt. And that, of course, is an important skill for survival. And so without being able to hunt, without being able to properly provide for himself, he would, of course, not survive in the wild. And so instead, he now stays with us, and we provide all the care that he needs. And he, in turn, helps the Rocky Mountain Raptor program with the second part of the work that we get to do, which is providing education and teaching people like you about these wonderful creatures that we get to share our world with. So he's a working bird. This is his job. He's working today. It's a very hard job to stand here and look lovely. But we'd love to actually switch into a closer view and give you all a chance to see him a little bit closer. There we go. So this is a very classic example of what great horned owls look like. He's a little bit grayer, a little bit paler than is most typical. Generally, great horned owls are going to be a little more brown than gray, but a very classic shape, size, posture. You can see those ear tufts there on the top of his head. This is what they look like. And when we think owl, great horned owls are generally what we're thinking about. This is the owl that they do when they put on like t-shirts and lunch boxes and all kinds of different media. If they put an owl picture on something, it's usually the great horns. This is the one we are most familiar with. But here in Colorado, it is by no means the only type of owl that we have. There are actually 13 different species of owls that can be found within this state. So wonderful opportunities for people to get out and about and enjoy the owls that share our state with us. Now, when I look at him, one of the things that strikes me the most are those eyes, those big, brilliant yellow eyes. They're so remarkably catching. They're intense and they're strong, and it gives the bird a very fierce look. And those eyes, there we go, look at him. Those eyes are part of a complicated system that make owls into one of the most fascinating species of raptors that I get a chance to spend my time with and educate about. There's a lot of components that go into being a successful owl, and we're going to share some of those with you. Now, of course, those eyes, that's the first thing that we notice. You may see that those eyes are quite large. If you had eyes in your own head that were as big as an owl's eyes compared to the size of your skull, your eyes would be as big as oranges. Can you imagine what your glasses might have to look like? I know those big glasses are coming back into fashion, but if you had eyes as big as an orange, those glasses would be humongous. Those big eyes serve to allow more light into the eyes themselves to improve the vision. Owls have remarkable vision. And this is one of the key defining characteristics of raptors as a whole. And so excellent eyesight is, of course, important for hunting. The eyes are so big. Now I'm going to come in here close into the camera because I actually have a skull here that I'd love to show you. Here we go. This is the skull of a great horned owl. So if you notice, here's the beak. Obviously, the main skull part, the brain would be right up here. This is where the eye would be. And you can see there's actually another bone stuck right here inside the skull. Fancy name for this, sclerotic ring, if you want to know some fun terminology. This bone is in there specifically to support the eyes, because the eyes are so big, they need that extra support so they can hold their shape. So owls, gigantic. Look at how big those eyes are. 1/3 of the brain, or excuse me, 1/3 of the skull is taken up by the brain, 1/3 by the eyes, and 1/3 is everything else. So that eyesight, critically important for an owl. Big eyes, great vision. Now, of course, vision is what they need to be able to hunt with. While I talk a little bit about how they hunt, if you have any suggestions or ideas of things you think great horned owls might like to eat, feel free to stick that into the chat. Come up with some ideas and brainstorm. What do you think an owl like this might be interested in eating? And owls are predators. So raptors, of course, are predators as a whole group. Predators mean that they eat other animals. They hunt for and eat other creatures. They're carnivores, which only meat. So it's actually called an obligate carnivore, which means they can't even handle any sort of incidental material. So say, for example, an owl like this caught a mouse, and the little mouse had eaten some grass earlier that day. The grass is inside the stomach of the mouse. This great horned owl will not be able to digest that grass at all, only the meat. Now they hunt using their feet. And the feet are really what truly separate raptors out from any of the other types of birds that live in our world. This is what makes a raptor into a raptor, are those feet. And let's see if we can get our camera in closer on his feet to give you a chance to take a look at weapons that he wears all the time. So of course you'll notice Megan is wearing this big thick leather glove. That's to protect her hand against these talons, these claws that you can see right down here. Here we go. See them? Those long black claws. This is the primary hunting tool for raptors and for owls. So they're called talons, T-A-L-O-N-S, if you're not familiar with that word. But this is a unique feature, and I actually have some. I'm going to bring in again a little bit closer to the camera to let you see them up really nice and close. Here we go. So these are the talons of a wild bird. Look how sharp. They're sharp as needles, designed to puncture. But the feet themselves, if you get a chance to look here, kind of in the middle of the foot, you may notice that it looks very rough and uneven. That's to increase the grip and allow the bird to hold on better to what they've caught. These feet are not only armed with ridiculously sharp talons, but they are strong. It's the strength of the feet that really make them into such incredible weapons. This owl here has enough strength in his feet to break Megan's arm if he wanted to. Now, he won't. He's trained. He doesn't need to. He's not afraid of Megan. He's not going to be doing that. But if he wanted to, he could. Something like an eagle. Oh my gosh. Eagles have the ability to grip and squeeze with their feet strong enough to break the biggest bone in the human body, which is the femur. No sweat. So just for you science nerds out there, the average grip strength of a human, an adult human male, is around about 40 to 60-ish pounds per square inch. I can't seem to get a very definite answer on that, but it's kind of in that range. So that is how strong an adult man can typically squeeze with his hands. This owl over here, his grip strength would be somewhere around about 600. And that eagle is around about 1400. Remarkable. So it's the sharpness of those talons for grabbing, puncturing, and then the squeezing of the feet. That's how great horned owls catch their food. Now, what are they going to eat? The easy answer? Whatever they can catch. These guys are not picky. They will eat anything. And when I say anything, I mean anything. They will eat mice, squirrels, rabbits, snakes. They'll eat other birds, like they actually hunt their smaller cousin, the long-eared owl. They frequently hunt long-eared owls and other kinds of small owls. They hunt small dogs. They hunt house cats. So if you have a small dog, say under 10 pounds, or a cat, and you know you have great horned owls in your area, to protect your pet from becoming dinner, either keep them inside or go outside with them and supervise them when they're outside. That'll really deter the owl from trying to hunt your pet, but they will. That's something they'll commonly eat. But what I found utterly fascinating is these guys will actually hunt skunks. They don't have a sense of smell, so they don't care how stinky skunks are. It's just a really great meal. They are the only known predator of skunks. How wild is that? Great horned owls like this are remarkable creatures. As I said, I just am fascinated by them because they're so visible in our world, in our communities. They live right in our neighborhoods with us. I have great horned owls in my neighborhood, and I'll hear them at night out, especially in the early spring, before it's really even kind of spring-ish, so maybe January, February, March, when they're starting to get ready to lay their eggs and raise their young. They'll get out, they'll be really noisy and active, making lots of sounds, and I love sitting on my patio in the evening. Sun's going down, relaxing, it's comfortable. It's winter, so I've usually got a blanket on, but it's still pleasant to be outside and listen for the owls. And that's really your best way to know if you have great horned owls in your area, is to listen for them. Great horned owls are also sometimes called the hoot owl because they make a hooting sound, that very traditional sort of sound that we're used to hearing from owls. Hoo, 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 hoo. That's what they're going to sound like. This time of year, it's summer, moving into fall, you're not really going to hear them very much. They're quiet unless it's breeding season. So winter is when you're going to hear them the most. Now, looking for them? Yeah, probably. However, the challenge is they're masters of camouflage. I recommend never ever challenging an owl to a game of hide and seek because you're probably gonna lose. Owls like this have built-in camouflage that is perfect. So if we look at the feathers up close of the owl, what does it make you think of? A lot of people think of tree bark. For example, I have a piece here. So this is cottonwood, pretty common. We're all pretty familiar with cottonwood. This is a really common tree that we have all around Colorado, and great horned owls are specifically designed to blend right on in to that cottonwood. So I'm going to bring it right back here into view. Here's a wing of an owl. Now this is a little more traditional color. See, it's a little more brown than gray, like our great horned owl with us. But like people come in many different colors and shades, so do the birds. But just look at how that blends right on into the bark. So looking for owls is certainly an option, but it's a challenge. You're going to be much more successful if you listen for them. So I encourage you to go out dusk, dawn. That's when most wildlife is going to be at its most active. That's when you're going to have your best chances of hearing all of the gorgeous creatures that live in your area. Or if you're out enjoying a weekend camping trip or something outdoors, listening is one of the best ways to find out who's there sharing that space with you. Now remember, if you have questions about the owl, something you would like to learn, additional curiosities, please feel free to type that on into the chat and we'll give you an answer right back. Now at the Rocky Mountain Raptor program, we care for all kinds of raptors. And a raptor, we've learned a little bit about it. It's of course a type of a bird, but it's a specialized bird utilizing those strong gripping feet with the sharp talons to do their hunting. It's a predatory, carnivorous bird. And there are many different types of raptors that live here in Colorado. We actually have about 40 different species that live in our state. So that's a lot of different individuals and different types of raptors for you to get to experience. Now, not all of them may be in your area, but Colorado has a great variety of different raptors. And at the Rocky Mountain Raptor program, we do care for all of the different types that might come in through our doors. So that would include things like eagles, such as the bald eagle or the golden eagle. That includes hawks. We have 4 different types of hawks. Falcons, 4 different types of falcons. 13 different species of owls. These guys are the biggest group that we have in the state. We also have vultures, which are one of my personal favorites. I adore vultures. Of course, I'll tell you frankly, I adore them all. But I have a really soft spot for vultures and owls in particular. But there's also some other types that many people are not familiar with. We also have osprey, harriers, and kites. So that makes a total of 8 different groups of raptors that are in our state. Now we brought with us a different individual to share with you, so we're going to say goodbye to our great horned owl and switch over to a different type of raptor to share another one of the more common species that we have in the area. Now, the Rocky Mountain Raptor program is based in Fort Collins. We have been operating for just over 30 years. We're in our 32nd year, and we see, as I said, around 300 patients. So that's been thousands of injured individuals that have come in through our doors and been returned back out into the wild. Our rehabilitation efforts are the main part of what we do. But we love to be able to educate people all across northeastern Colorado and southeastern Wyoming, all the areas that we serve. We love to be able to provide people with opportunities to meet and learn about the raptors that we share our world with. However, none of this could happen without our supporters, people like you who enjoy learning about, experiencing the various wildlife that we have, the raptors that we share. We are a nonprofit, which means we don't get any money from the state and we don't get any money from the federal government. But the raptors that we care for are a federally protected species. So we operate almost entirely off of donations. To support the Rocky Mountain Raptor program, you can visit our Facebook page. We'll drop that link into the chat for you. There's opportunities to learn more about the work that we do, patients that we may have in our house that we're caring for right now, as well as making donations to support the work and finding out where and when we're going to be doing additional of these live streams. So visit that website and learn a little bit more about the organization and get a chance to see what you can do to help support us so that we can support the raptors that share our communities. Now we're going to bring in a second individual. This guy is so fun. I just sometimes love to just look at him because he is, oh, okay, I've said it before, I'll say it again. He's gorgeous. I love this little boy here. This is another of the very common species. So the great horned owl that you met and this little American kestrel here are one of what I consider to be starter pack raptors. This is one of the birds that often brings individuals into the world of birding and into the world of raptors, along with the great horned owl, because these little American kestrels are, again, extremely common, very populous, very tolerant of humans, and easily can be found right in your own communities. So this little boy kestrel that Megan has here is another one of our permanently disabled ambassadors. He's colorful, he's charismatic, he's got a lot of personality to him, so as we watch him, you'll see some interesting behaviors. I'll tell you a little bit about what's going on with some of the things that you're seeing. But first I want to tell you, why is he with us and rather out in the wild? This little American kestrel came into the Rocky Mountain Raptor program as a patient, as all of our ambassadors have done. Oh, he's hungry. He is hungry. So did you see he did that quick little, looked like he was almost reaching out to grab something with his beak? That tells us he's hungry. And so Megan's actually going to offer him some food and we'll get to see him eat. It would be great if we could bring our close-in camera back so that we can see him do this. Now this little kestrel came in as a nestling, very, very young, still in his downy little baby feathers. He had been bit by a mosquito and contracted West Nile virus. That's something humans can get. We don't get it nearly as often. Bug spray, certainly, keeping those mosquitoes off of you will protect you from West Nile virus. But raptors are susceptible to it, especially when they're young. He's trying to keep his balance there with his wings. See his little tail kind of bobbing back and forth? That's him. Oops. That's him trying to keep his balance. He has a little bit of trouble with his balance because that virus affected his brain. And like the great horned owl that you saw earlier, he suffered from some brain trauma. But because he was so young, it's more severe. He doesn't really know that he's a kestrel. He doesn't really understand what he would need to do to survive in the wild. He has a lot of cognitive challenges. He's very easily overwhelmed and confused by things. He gets spatially disoriented. So for example, he may think he's reaching for something with his right foot, but he's actually reaching with his left and he loses his balance. He's got some balance issues just kind of along with that. And over time, as he ages, he's now 8 years old, which is actually pretty old for a kestrel. But as he ages, he is slowly losing his vision. And this is a common long-term side effect of West Nile virus. At this point, he no longer can see anything out of his right eye. We know this because of two different things. One, we can kind of test it and see how does he react to things that might move or be on his right side, and he doesn't. We also work very closely with the vets at Colorado State University, and they will actually come out and give him eye exams. Just like when we go to the eye doctor, they bring out all that equipment with the bright lights and they shine it in there and they actually check his eyes out and look inside and see how it all is, just like when we go to the eye doctor. The eye is healthy, but the eye and the brain no longer communicate. So he doesn't have any vision out of that right side. He does out of his left, so he's perfectly able to get around his space, no problems. He can find his food on his own. He can groom his feathers and do everything that he needs to do to take care of himself. But of course, that means he wouldn't be able to hunt. And that's something he's never been able to do. We tested him. We actually, as part of his rehabilitation, we do live prey testing, where we'll put a live, usually it's a mouse or a rat, and we put it in that enclosure with the bird and see what it does. And in his case, it was fun to watch. And that's about all he did. He didn't know what he was supposed to do with that fuzzy little thing that ran around on the ground. And that's, of course, another reason why he would not be able to return to the wild. Look at that tail go. Oh, there it goes down. Some food pieces are holding pieces, and he'll just kind of hold on to them for a little while before he decides to eat. And again, as he's taking little bite-sized pieces off of Megan's fingertip, you might notice sometimes he misses on his first try, and we might have to kind of reposition and let him try again. There he goes. But we hold the food pretty close so it's easy for him to find it. And we do feed him both this way on the hand and give him food to find on his own in his room so that he's able to eat enough to keep himself going. Little kestrels are so fun. Look at that face. Look at the colors. Generally speaking, raptors are pretty drab. A lot of browns and grays and not a lot of variety in colors, but kestrels are beautiful. Look at the red, the blue, black and white, and just striking little colors there. See the blue on the top of the head? It's called a crown, and both the male and the females will have that blue head. But you'll notice there on his wings, part of the wing is blue, and then his back turns to more of a rusty reddish color. And those beautiful blue wings are how we know for sure that this is a male. Kestrels are one of very few raptor species that we can tell the difference in genders based on the plumage. Males and females, boys and girls, have two different colors. And so I actually have a couple of wings here that I can show you what those differences look like. We'll take a closer look so that if you get a chance to see a kestrel out in the wild, you might be able to tell what gender it is. So here we go. All right. So this is a male. See the blue on the wings, and then that red back and the beautiful blue wings. Very, very striking color. But a female is all that rusty reddish color, no blue. There's a lot more black markings, stripes or barring it's called. Females are more of this rusty reddish on the wings, and males will be blue. So if you get a chance to see a kestrel out in the wild, that's going to be one of the ways you can tell them apart. Their tails will also look different. So here we go. Female tail, oops. Again, reddish, lots of stripes. See the black striping or barring on the tail compared to the tail of a male. Very, very different in how they appear. That's one of the things that's really fun about kestrels is just by looking at them, you can tell what gender it might be. Now, where would you go if you wanted to look for a little kestrel? Any place that has a nice, big, open fieldish sort of area with some place high to perch. So, goodness, there's a lot of places. Farming communities are a really great area to look for them. These little kestrels will sit in one place and wait for something that they want to hunt, kind of scurry by underneath. They can also, I love this is fascinating, they can hover in flight. Sort of like a hummingbird, it's not exactly the same, but they can actually hover. And this comes in useful because one of their all-time favoriteest foods to eat is mice. They are very specialized when it comes to hunting mice. They got some great features for it. But one of the things that they do is they actually have inside their eyes a special little drop of oil that lets them see in the ultraviolet range, which is a place we can't normally see. Now, we can make lights that allow us to see in that range, but they see it naturally. And this helps them with hunting mice. I don't know if you've ever had mice get into your house. I had them in my kitchen once. They were living behind my dishwasher, and it took me months to get rid of them. And not only is it irritating to have little mice running around my house, unfortunately, mice are kind of gross because they have this habit that when they leave their nest in the morning and they go forage for something to eat, as they run along, they pee as they run, and they leave this little trail of urine for them to follow back to their nest at the end of the day so they don't get lost. Well, kestrels can see that. It glows brilliantly bright in their vision. And so they'll fly over a field, see that trail of urine, and instead of following it, because which way did the mouse go, they actually hover in flight and wait for the mouse to come back along the trail, and then they ambush it from above. So they're fantastic little hunters. These are falcons. It's actually the smallest falcon that we have in North America. These little falcons are so fierce. Don't let the small size and the adorableness fool you. They are fierce, fierce little hunters. Being a falcon, in addition to mice, they hunt a wide variety of birds. Songbirds like sparrows and house finches. They may even take down something as large as a robin, which is significantly bigger than themselves. So when it comes to hunting, raptors can take down some pretty significantly sized prey. Think about that great horned owl that we met earlier. I said they hunt skunks. Skunks are easily larger than a great horned owl, but they are bold and they are fierce. And that's one of the things that I love so much. Oh, we have another holding piece. One of the things I love so much about raptors is they have a spirit of survival. The ferocity, the will to live that allows them to recover from some pretty remarkably serious injuries is just inspiring. And day to day, I don't get to work as much with the patients as I would like. My job is working with our resident ambassador birds, but I hear the stories of the patients that we get the privilege to return back out into the wild. And the things that they can recover from astound me sometimes. And that's a testament as well to the rehabilitation team that we have, the knowledge and the skills that they've developed over our 32 years to be able to treat and provide for all of these different individuals. It's a privilege to get to be around these birds. In the wild, they are quite solitary. They really don't tolerate people being nearby. So if you do come across one in the wild, you can help protect it and prevent it from getting injured in the first place by ensuring that you leave it space. And that's one thing that often when we hear about wildlife, we hear people say is keep your distance, don't get too close. And then people try to figure, and I often get asked, well, how close is too close? And it's going to vary from animal to animal. A good rule of thumb is if you're watching an animal and it changes its behavior, it stops what it's doing and starts doing something else, and it's an abrupt change. Say, for example, if you come up into Rocky Mountain National Park and you get a chance to see the elk grazing and you want to go and take a closer look at those elk, if you approach and the elk lifts its head and looks at you, it's an abrupt change. You're too close. Take 5 steps back and watch from there. That's one of the greatest things that you can do to help ensure that our wildlife gets a chance to stay wild, is respecting the space that they need. Now, should you ever come across an injured raptor, the Rocky Mountain Raptor program is here for you and for them. We operate a 24-hour-a-day emergency phone. You can call us day or night, 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, and we will answer that phone to provide you with any assistance that you might need regarding a raptor that you think is in trouble. So please call us. The faster that animal can get to help, the better its chances of survival if it's injured. And so that's a big part of what we do, is providing that ability to get to them sooner. Now, you can learn more about the work that we do, meet more of our ambassadors. We do a lot of fun things to help you learn and enjoy the creatures that we share our world with through all of our different social media. Again, feel free to visit our website, but we also run a Facebook page. We'll drop a link in our comments there in the chat for you to see where can you go to find us on Facebook. You can certainly just search for Rocky Mountain Raptor Program. Great opportunities to learn about other times that we'll be out doing live streams for you to meet more of our ambassadors and learn more about them. We have 20 different ambassadors. So there's 18 feathered friends you still have you can meet. So feel free to join us for any of those. Again, a huge thank you to the Estes Valley Library for hosting us. Check out the other wonderful programming that they have going on during the summer. And I believe the library is open again. Is that correct? Yes. The library is open again from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So you can come back and start building up all your wonderful knowledge and get some great books to read as well. Now, we have just a couple of minutes together, and so I want to share with you one really cool thing that many people are curious about when it comes to raptors, and this is the cast or the pellet. And these are really commonly associated with owls. I don't know if any of you ever got a chance to dissect one in school. A lot of classes do this. You'll dissect an owl pellet. And I actually have a pellet here. I'm going to bring this in. Can we switch to our close-in camera? And I'm going to bring this pellet up for you to get to see here. Here we go. All right, so this is the pellet or cast of an owl. What do you see? Do you see all the little bones right inside of it? When raptors eat, they eat the whole animal. So that means they eat the meat, the fur, the bones, the skin, the organs, and the blood. They eat the whole thing. And owls cannot digest the bone. And so this is fur. All this dark material is fur from, this was probably a rat that they ate. This fur is not digestible by any type of raptor. So the little kestrel there, his mouse that he ate a few bite of it for us today, that cast tomorrow will just be the leftover mouse fur. But from owls, it will also have the bones. They can't digest the bones like other raptors can. So this is really cool. You may find these when you're out and about, if you're out hiking or something like that. These are really kind of a fun way to see if there's been a raptor in your area. So out on the trails, keep your eyes open. Friends, it's been a pleasure sharing the raptors. Again, this is the American kestrel. And earlier on, you met the great horned owl. I really hope you enjoyed getting to meet them, to learn about them. Oh! And the little kestrel says goodbye.